Let me start with a question that might hit you a little hard, and I want you to answer it honestly inside your mind. How many times have you started something with full energy, full excitement, and full confidence, telling yourself that this time you will change your life? This time you will finally become serious. This time you will do what you promised yourself for years, and for the first day you were unstoppable. On the second day you were still pushing. On the third day you were tired. On the fourth day you were distracted. And on the fifth day you were already thinking about quitting. And then after a few days you stopped completely. Not because you were incapable, not because you were not intelligent, not because you did not have potential, but because you did not stay consistent long enough for your effort to turn into results. And this is the real tragedy of most lives. People do not fail because they never try. People fail because they try again and again, but they never stay long enough on one path to see the reward. They keep starting. They keep restarting. They keep promising themselves that from tomorrow everything will be different. And then tomorrow comes, and the same habits, the same excuses, the same distractions, and the same lazy comfort pull them back to where they started. And slowly they begin to believe that success is not for them, that growth is not for them, that discipline is not for them. But that belief is wrong, because the truth is you are not weak, you are just inconsistent. Consistency is the most underrated power in the world, because it is not exciting, it is not dramatic, it does not give you instant validation, and it does not make you feel like a hero in one day. Consistency is slow, consistency is repetitive, consistency is boring, and that is exactly why it works. Because most people cannot tolerate boring things. Most people want a shortcut. Most people want instant success. And when they do not get it, they quit, and they jump to another thing, and they repeat the same cycle. Now understand this clearly. Consistency is not about doing big things once. Consistency is about doing small things again and again until they become part of you, until they become your identity, until they become your lifestyle. And the moment you become consistent, you stop relying on motivation. You stop relying on moods, and you stop relying on inspiration, because motivation is temporary, moods are unpredictable, and inspiration comes and goes, but consistency stays. Let me explain it with a simple example. Imagine two people want to get fit. The first person goes to the gym on day one and trains like a warrior, 2 hours of heavy weights, intense cardio, extreme sweating, and he feels proud of himself. He feels like he is changing his life, but the next day his body's in pain. He feels tired, he cannot move properly, and he skips the gym, and then he skips again. And then after 1 week he goes back, and again he trains too hard, and again he disappears for 10 days, and after 6 months his body looks almost the same. And he says gym does not work, but the gym works. It is his inconsistency that does not work. On the other side, there is a second person. He goes to the gym for only 30 minutes. He does not try to impress anyone. He does not try to prove anything. He does not do extreme workouts. He just follows a simple routine, and he does it regularly 4 or 5 days a week. And after 6 months, his body's completely different. His energy is different. His confidence is different, and his mindset is different. And people look at him and say, "You are lucky." But he is not lucky. He is consistent. And the same thing happens in studies, in business, in relationships, and in skills. Because every big result in the world is not created by one big action. It is created by small actions repeated over time. And this is why consistency is powerful, because consistency creates compounding. Compounding is the secret force that most people do not understand, because compounding is invisible in the beginning. When you start doing something daily, you feel like nothing is happening. You feel like your efforts are wasted. You feel like you are not improving. You feel like you are not moving forward. But slowly, silently, your skills are growing. Your mindset is changing. Your discipline is building. And one day suddenly you realize that you are not the same person anymore. And that is the moment people call you talented. They call you lucky. They call you gifted. But they did not see your consistent work when nobody was watching. Let me give you another example. Imagine a person who wants to learn English. On the first day, he watches a motivational video. He feels excited. He downloads an app. He learns 10 words and he feels proud, but on the second day, he forgets. On the third day, he gets busy. On the fourth day, he says, I will start next week. And after 6 months, he still cannot speak English. And then he says, English is difficult, but English is not difficult. Consistency is difficult. And then there is another person who learns only 5 words daily. He listens to English for 10 minutes daily. He practices speaking for 5 minutes daily. And after 6 months, he is speaking better. After 1 year, he is fluent. And the difference was not intelligence. The difference was consistency. Now listen carefully, because this is where most people lose. People think consistency means perfection. They think they must do everything perfectly every day. They think they must never miss a day, and when they miss one day, they feel guilty. They feel like a failure, and then they quit completely. But consistency is not perfection. Consistency is comeback. It is the ability to return to your routine even after you fail, even after you miss, even after you fall. Because failure is part of the journey. Bad days are part of the journey. Tired days are part of the journey. Distracted days are part of the journey. And if you quit every time you face a bad day, you will never win. But if you learn to return, you become unstoppable. And the biggest reason people cannot stay consistent is because they build their life on emotions. They work when they feel motivated, they study when they feel excited, they exercise when they feel energetic, and when they do not feel good, they stop. But emotions are like weather. They change every day. Sometimes you feel confident, sometimes you feel insecure, sometimes you feel strong, sometimes you feel weak. And if you depend on emotions, your life will always be unstable. Successful people do not depend on emotions. They depend on systems. They depend on routines. They depend on habits, because systems do not care how you feel. Systems only care about action, and action repeated becomes consistency, and consistency repeated becomes results. Now let's go deeper, because if consistency is so powerful, then the real question is why most people cannot stay consistent even when they truly want to, why they start strong and then slowly disappear, why they promise themselves and then break that promise, why they feel guilty and then repeat the same cycle again. And the answer is not laziness. The answer is not lack of talent. The answer is not that you are weak. The answer is that most people are fighting the wrong battle. The biggest enemy of consistency is not hard work. The biggest enemy is your brain's desire for instant reward, because the human brain is designed to chase pleasure and avoid pain. And in the beginning of any new journey, the work feels painful and the reward feels far away. So your brain starts resisting. Your brain starts giving you excuses. Your brain starts saying, do it tomorrow, rest today, you deserve a break, it's not a big deal. And slowly you start listening. And once you start listening, you lose your routine. And once you lose your routine, you lose momentum. And once you lose momentum, you lose the habit, and then you go back to your old life. This is why people can scroll for 2 hours without feeling tired. But they cannot study for 30 minutes without feeling bored. This is why people can watch 10 episodes of a series without getting exhausted. But they cannot work on their goals for 1 hour without feeling stressed. Because scrolling gives instant dopamine. Entertainment gives instant dopamine. Junk food gives instant dopamine. And goals give delayed dopamine. And the brain naturally chooses instant dopamine unless you train it. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you want to start working out. The first day you feel excited, you do some exercises, you sweat, you feel proud, and you tell yourself, this is my new life. But the next day your body is sore, you feel pain, and you don't see any visible change in your body. So your brain says, what's the point? And you skip, and then you skip again. And within 1 week, you stop completely. Not because you are lazy, but because your brain did not get the reward it wanted. Now imagine the same situation in business. You start something. You put effort. You make calls. You try to sell. You post online. You do work for a week and you don't get results. You don't get money. You don't get recognition. And your brain says, this is not working, and you stop. But the truth is, the first phase of every journey is always slow. And if you cannot tolerate slow progress, you will never reach fast success. This is why consistency is rare, because consistency requires a level of patience that most people don't have. And the reason most people don't have patience is because they have trained themselves to live in instant gratification. They have trained themselves to live in fast pleasure. They have trained themselves to avoid discomfort, and consistency is uncomfortable in the beginning. Now, here is the next trap that destroys consistency. People set unrealistic expectations. They expect perfection. They expect fast results. They expect huge changes in a short time. And when reality does not match their expectation, they feel disappointed, and disappointment kills consistency. Let me explain it clearly. When you start something new, your progress will be slow, your skills will be weak, your results will be small. And that is normal, but most people think, if I work hard for 1 week, my life should change. And when it doesn't, they think they are failing, but they are not failing. They are just in the normal process of growth. For example, if you start a YouTube channel, your first 10 videos might get very low views. Your first 20 videos might not get the audience you want. Your first month might feel like nobody cares, and that is normal. But most people quit before the algorithm even understands their content, before they even improve their speaking, before they even build their editing skills, and then they say, YouTube is too hard. But YouTube is not hard. Consistency is hard. And the funny part is, the people who succeed on YouTube are not always the most talented. They are the most consistent, because the more you upload, the more you improve. The more the audience trusts you, the more the platform pushes you, and slowly your channel grows. But only if you stay consistent long enough to reach that stage. Now let's talk about the third reason people fail at consistency. They try to change everything at once. They try to become a completely new person in one day. They wake up and say, from tomorrow I will wake up early, I will work out, I will study, I will eat healthy, I will stop wasting time, I will meditate, I will start a business. And for 2 days they do it, and then they crash. This is like trying to lift a weight that is too heavy for you. Your muscles will fail, and you will drop it, and you will feel injured, and then you will be afraid to try again. And the same thing happens with habits. If you try to change too much at once, your willpower collapses, and then you quit. And then you blame yourself. But the problem was not you. The problem was your approach. Consistency is built by small steps, not by huge jumps, because small steps are easy to repeat, and repetition is the foundation of consistency. Let me give you an example. Imagine you want to read books, and you decide you will read 50 pages daily, and for the first day you do it, and the second day you do it. But on the third day, you feel tired and you stop. And then you stop for 1 week, and you feel guilty, and then you quit completely. But if you had started with only 5 pages daily, it would be easy. You would not resist, and slowly you would build the habit. And after 1 month, you could easily read 20 pages daily without struggle. This is why consistency is not about how much you do, it is about how often you do it. Because doing something small daily is more powerful than doing something big once in a while. Now here is another hidden enemy of consistency, and this enemy is dangerous because people don't notice it. It is identity conflict, meaning you want to be consistent, but deep inside you don't see yourself as that person. For example, you say, I want to become a disciplined person, but deep inside you still believe I am lazy. You say, I want to become a successful person, but deep inside you still believe I am not good enough. You say, I want to become fit, but deep inside you still believe I am not a fitness person. And because your identity is stronger than your goals, your brain will always pull you back to the identity you believe. This is why many people start and stop, because they are trying to act like a consistent person, but they still think like an inconsistent person. And the moment they face difficulty, they return to their old identity. The solution is simple but powerful. You must change your identity first. You must start telling yourself, I am a consistent person. I am the kind of person who shows up. I am the kind of person who keeps going. Because when you adopt that identity, your brain starts protecting it. Your brain starts making decisions based on it, and slowly consistency becomes natural. Now we come to the most important part of this entire video, because until now you have understood what consistency is, why it is powerful, and why most people fail to stay consistent. But now the real question is how to build consistency in real life. Not for 1 week, not for 1 month, but for years. Because the truth is, consistency is not something you do. Consistency is something you become. And if you become a consistent person, your results will be automatic. Let me tell you the biggest secret of consistency. The secret is that consistency is not built by motivation, it is built by environment. Because motivation is emotional, but environment is logical. Motivation comes and goes, but environment stays. And if your environment supports your good habits, you will stay consistent even on bad days. For example, if you want to wake up early, but you sleep with your phone in your hand, scrolling at night, watching reels, watching random videos, your brain will stay stimulated, your sleep will be disturbed, and waking up early will feel like torture, and then you will blame yourself. But the problem was not your willpower. The problem was your environment, because your environment was designed for distraction, not for discipline. Now imagine you change one thing. You keep your phone away from your bed, you set your alarm, you keep a glass of water near your bed. You decide that the moment you wake up, you will drink water and sit for 2 minutes. And you do this daily, and suddenly waking up early becomes easier because your environment is supporting your habit. This is why consistency is not about fighting yourself every day. Consistency is about designing your life in a way where doing the right thing becomes easy and doing the wrong thing becomes difficult. Let me give you another example. Imagine you want to eat healthy, but your kitchen is full of junk food, chips, cold drinks, sweets, and every time you feel hungry, you see those things. Your brain gets tempted and you eat them. And then you feel guilty and you say, I have no self-control. But again, the problem is not your self-control. The problem is your environment, because you are living inside temptation. Now imagine you remove junk food from your house. You keep fruits, nuts, and healthy options. And suddenly eating healthy becomes easier because you are not fighting temptation all the time. And this is exactly how consistency works. You reduce friction for good habits and you increase friction for bad habits. Now here's the second powerful method to build consistency. And this method can change your life if you apply it. Stop focusing on outcomes and start focusing on inputs. Most people focus on outcomes. They say, I want to lose 10 kilograms. I want to earn 1 lakh per month. I want 100,000 subscribers. I want to become fluent in English. And because they focus on outcomes, they feel pressure, they feel stress, and when they don't see results quickly, they quit. But consistent people focus on inputs. They say, I will work out 30 minutes daily. I will save a fixed amount every month. I will upload 1 video every week. I will practice English daily. Because inputs are controllable, outcomes are not. You cannot control how fast YouTube will push your channel, but you can control how often you upload. You cannot control how quickly people will support your business, but you can control how often you show up and improve your product. You cannot control how fast your body will change, but you can control your workouts and your diet. And when you focus on inputs, you feel powerful because you are in control. And this is the mindset shift that makes consistency natural. Because when you focus on inputs, you stop chasing motivation, you stop chasing results, and you start building a system. Now let me give you the third method, and this is one of the most practical strategies in the world. Start so small that your brain cannot say no. This is where people get confused. They think starting small means they are weak. They think starting small means they are not serious. But starting small is actually a sign of intelligence, because you are building a habit, and habits are built by repetition, not by intensity. For example, if you want to start reading, do not start with 1 hour daily. Start with 5 pages. If you want to start exercising, do not start with a full workout plan. Start with 10 push-ups. If you want to start studying, do not start with 5 hours daily. Start with 20 minutes. If you want to start making YouTube videos, do not start by trying to make perfect videos. Start by writing scripts daily for 30 minutes. Because when you start small, you win daily, and daily wins create confidence, and confidence creates consistency, and consistency creates results.